Hello, everybody. Welcome to our presentation today, Challenges of Culture Studies in the Arab World. I'm Dr. Mohammed Hussam Ismail, Associate Professor in Faculty of Mass Communication, Cairo University. I hope you would find this kind of presentation useful, especially this kind of studies are genuine and new in the Arab world. Our presentation will be divided into three main parts. Number one, reasons behind ignoring culture studies. Number two, remedies of the situation, and examples of culture studies. To be honest with you, I have found a kind of resistance to culture studies in the Arab academia. Scientific gatekeepers either ignore or deny that there is such a field called culture studies that can help us understand media phenomena in a new way. The banks of denial. What are the reasons behind that? Number one, maybe domination of the American quantitative functional structure approaches in the Arab universities. American universities almost monopolized these scientific destinations to which students had to travel to get their degrees. I'm trying here to bust a kind of myth. The claimed reliability and the validity of numerical studies that uses questionnaire and other quantitative methods turned to be a despotic authority hindering researchers from thinking on alternative approaches. I remember 10 years ago when a kind of professor here in Cairo University stated to me that there is no science but via statistics. This is what we are talking about exactly. What about the other Arab countries? Yes, quantitative functional studies extended from one Arab country to another. Of course, Egypt was the first Arab country to constitute a department specialized in journalism in 1954 and inaugurate a faculty of mass communication in 1974. The faculty members moved to other Arab countries to start similar departments, transferring American approaches with them, for example, Cairo University to Sultan Qaboos University in Oman. What are those theories that are overused, actually? Here we go. So if you conduct a kind of study about the percentage of the theoretical approaches in Faculty of Mass Communication, dissertation, and thesis, you would figure out that it will be entitled to agenda setting, cultivation theory, uses and gratification, media richness, etc. Yes, there is a kind of dependency, scientific dependency, or academic dependency. And it's not a surprise because it's synchronized with the other states of dependency in economy, lifestyle, media production. Let us see this. You are familiar with this kind of genre, reality TV. As the Americans have American Idol, we have imitated them to have Arab Idol. But there are some serious, profound reasons. The lack of autonomy of faculty and universities. Professors used to be expelled outside universities if they challenged the political and the economic regime. And we are familiar that the critical approaches, they are not welcomed, okay, that much in such countries. Egyptian universities are unfriendly places to work. Historical prestigious status of the university professor or scholar is out of date right now compared with the pop culture icons and football players. But is there any exception? Yes, you would find it in the Arab North African French-speaking countries like Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco. I have benefited myself from the works of Baudrillard, Lyotard, Bourdieu, Roland Barthes, as you would see right now. Is there any remedies for that? Yes. Raising the awareness. Then sending Arab students to European universities that contributed to the boom of media culture studies, including but not entitled to, not limited to, Birmingham's Media and Culture Studies Center, Cardiff University, Roehampton University, if we mention some. Culture studies of media require interdisciplinary researchers who are keen in reading history. This is very important, prerequisite. American universities now interested in culture studies. In my scholarship myself, I have benefited from the culture studies the professors conducted in Indiana University of Pennsylvania. I will give you a kind of quick idea about my academic journey here. I have started, after getting my PhD, I have started with examining the postmodern media values in the Western media, and then what are the influences in our Arab media. Then I have conducted a qualitative culture investigation about Arab music videos. I've collected some of these studies in my book, Image and Body. It was published in 2008, first edition, from Beirut in Lebanon. And finally, I have collected my qualitative semiotic and culture studies in my recent book, Satire, Resistance, and Revolution. I'm going to give you right now a kind of examples of the culture analysis notions. And it will be this kind of study about businessmen in cartoons, a semiotic and culture analysis. The Egyptian Arab Muslim culture shows itself in the discourse of cartoons to play a specific role, which is resistance. Egyptian cartoons represent a counter-discourse to hegemonic discourses of political and economic elites. Cartoonists challenge the status quo and refuse to surrender to hegemony. Let's have some examples here. You are familiar with the Egyptian Revolution. And this kind of photo from Tahrir Square, it's not a rare photo, actually. I have found intertextuality between recent resistant discourses and historical resistant discourses of a people, Egyptian people, known for their witty humor, and or that attack the tyrant, either foreigners or locals. I have found many faces when in attacked businessmen who dominated the political and economic arena. Yes, let us have this kind of cartoon. This is an example of the situation in Egypt. What we have here, we have the businessman as a kind of icon, this kind of middle-aged man, okay? And the government is portrayed as a woman. They are romancing in the carriage. And there was the Wagner. The Wagner is the police state, and the poor citizen just cringing at the rear of this carriage. This is a kind of cartoon that depicts the marriage between political power and wealth in Egypt. An Egyptian cartoonist iconizes businessmen as the man in the cabriolet romancing with the government, portrayed as the woman. Of course, the power relationship you would understand between man and woman in a kind of conservative society like the Egyptian one. The Wagner drawing the cabriolet in the police is the police, whereas the poor person cringing behind being whipped by the police represents the majority of poor people in Egypt. Let's have this kind of cartoon. And I beg your pardon to zoom a little bit in. Yeah, what we have here. We have the icon of the businessman. A fat, a middle-aged, bald guy, smoking cigars, having this kind of big fabric bags of US dollars, okay? And we have here the poor guy, represents the majority of the people in Egypt. And he's reading in his newspaper a kind of formal poll that stated 50% of Egyptians feel injustice, 40 count only on God. And he commented, and the 10% eat them alive, insinuating the businessman. That we call in the semiotic studies binary oppositions. The businessman is a shaved, overweight, middle-aged man, wears formal suits, smokes cigars, hold this kind of fabric bags. This is a kind of thief symbol, turned to be a symbol of thieves, okay? The fat cat thieves in Egypt. On the other hand, the average Egyptian is unshaved, skinny man, wears a patchy dress, feels better about businessmen. What about the third one? Look to this. This is supposed to be Big Ben. So we are in London, okay? And this is one of the businessmen fled to London. He has been portrayed as a pig. And he's just saying via phone, it was impossible to stay in Egypt after this media frenzy. Well, are the kids okay? I'm fine, but London is a bit chilly. Okay? He's calling his wife. Let us elaborate this. Yeah, there is a kind of analogy between businessmen and repulsive animals. For example, in Arab Muslim culture, pigs are generally considered hideous creatures. Muslims, of course, do not eat pork or bacon. Imagine calling somebody a pig in Egypt. It's very humiliating. Locusts. Locusts are known for their phenomenal speed in wiping out green scenes. Dogs are not respected in Arab Muslim culture as the Western one. Touching a dog, as you may know, requires a wash from a Muslim to purify himself or herself. So, calling businessmen either pigs or locusts or dogs, this is a kind of analogy, and I have found a historical one. Yes, I have found an intertextuality between analogies and those historical representations appearing in popular texts, just like folklore poems, narratives, attacking rulers as pigs, dogs, and locusts, repeating itself. And what are the rationale behind that? I would say that the majority of the cartoonists belonging to the middle class, and these bourgeois classes tend to bring culture into nature and use methods, the terminology of Roland Barthes, to hide the ideological functions of the science. Cartoonists belong to middle class that inflicted by the dire situation at the last 10 years of Mubarak's reign. So, I have tried here in my presentation to introduce three parts, okay? Number one, the reasons behind ignoring culture studies, this kind of important trend in media studies. Number two, the remedies of the situation. And number three, some examples of my own culture studies. Thank you very much, and I hope this would inspire you to go to some books in culture studies. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.